So on the settings page we have map sensor, vacuum units, pressure units, TPS settings, wideband with input, options, and our system for EMS. We have a backlight control right from the software, read and program. So on the sensors page we have our breakpoints for analog inputs. Same setup as the TunerView 2, 15 breakpoints for all 4 analog inputs. And then on the COM page we have our port selection and our firmware update area. Now on the layout page we have save layout, we have revert to saved, we have clear page and clear all, and your page. And we have your gauge, text, bar, and light items at the bottom. Now let's actually get started with a live demo. What I'm going to do here is take a gauge, drag it, and drop it on the screen. You'll see in real time I can manipulate its location and even resize it in real time. Now you'll notice on the right hand side we have our settings for this gauge. We have segment settings, minimum, max, warning, our warning setup, gauge style, increment style, needle style, and our type that we want to display from. Now I'll show you how to add text. Just drag and drop. You can type in real time anything you want for a custom label. You can choose the font size, change the orientation, and you can also set it to show values in real time from any one of the sensors available. So now we'll do the same thing with the bar graph, drag and drop, real-time manipulation, resize. On the right hand side you have your minimum, maximum, your warning values, and your type, so you can show the value from any one of the sensors. Next we have light. You can move around and resize in real time. You assign it to any input or output, special feature in the ECU software, and you can add a text item straight to it that doesn't use your own separate text item. You can also use a separate text item with any font style you want to label it any way you want. So there's an overview of drag and drop software and real-time manipulation. Next, we'll be making a sample layout. What I'm going to do now is make a simple layout for you guys to see, the process. Queue up the display here, and what I'm going to do is drag a gauge, drop it on the screen. I'm going to move it around a little bit, resize it. I'm going to come over and give it a segment, a section of 8. This is going to be an RPM gauge, so we're going to make it up to 9,000. Set it to RPM, maximum 9,000, and right now this would function as a working RPM gauge. However, I want a little extra space, so I'm going to go down and chop the bottom off of it. Now this is about as simple as it gets for an RPM gauge. What we can actually do to manipulate this, to make it look a little better, a little more flashy, is change it. I'm going to set it to top quarter and resize it so it sits at the top. Now it kind of has the S2000 feel. Let's change the needle type so it goes all the way across. And now we have an RPM gauge that's a little more flashy. Now what I'm going to do next is go ahead and add a text item to display RPM as well. We're going to set it to a digital medium size font and set it to RPM. What I'm going to do now is add a bar graph to our display. I'm going to resize and move it so it's almost center. And what I'll end up doing is setting it to TPS and setting the maximum value to 100, obviously. And I'll also add a light up here on the top left. We'll set it to MIL and give it a text item. And now we have a very simple layout that uses all of our components. And everything is currently set up to show real world values. Now I'm going to plug in the engine simulator, and the real world values are going to show up on the top right display. And our simple settings are working in real time. With the RD1, you are able to save full page layouts and load them back up. Here we're going to load something we've already saved, and this was submitted by one of our prototype testers. Basically, it'll replace what's on the page, and everything that's been imported is now available to be manipulated. You can move it around, change anything that you need to. You also have the ability to go to different pages and import different layouts for those pages. We have up to 5 pages here. Let's import one on page 2. This is a custom one that was also submitted. And basically, you can switch in between them, modify them however you want. And by hitting the button on the display, you can easily switch in between the pages as well. Everything between pages is completely separate. So let's go ahead and take a look at this display in real time. This particular display has warning lights set up at higher RPM. And the last thing I'm going to show you guys today is the peak values page. Now, if you go left once, it'll actually show you the peak values on your first layout page. And if you go left again, it shows you everything in text format. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.